Hello, Bravo bosses, and welcome to the Bravo Investigator podcast with me, your host, Dana. Instead of our typical Monday reality roundup, I am dropping you guys my exclusive interview with Jared Lipscomb. So Jared is one of the very close friends of Janet and Jason Caperna, as well as Brittany Cartwright, as well as Sheena Shea, as well as Lala Kent. So it was really exciting to have Jared on the podcast today to really give us a lot of information about what goes on the back end, because Jared has been around the scenes for many, many years. He used to be the makeup artist to these people, and then he became friends with them. And as a very close friend of this group, he really knows them inside and out. So he was able to talk to us about Dark Side Danny. He was able to give the real on those comments that Zach apparently made that were too horrible to even say on TV. And he was able to really talk about the real Janet, the real person behind the TV screen, the person that he really knows. So today's interview is really exciting. I hope you guys enjoy it. And I also wanted to remind you guys that I started a Patreon. You can find it at patreon.com/the Bravo Investigator Podcast. It's $5 a month for 4 extra podcast episodes. You'll also get ad-free episodes, and you'll also get episodes early. So, for example, this episode is dropping on the Patreon on Saturday instead of Monday for everybody else. So you could have got it a couple days earlier if you had joined the Patreon. So please head over there if you are able to do so. And if you're not, I totally understand. There are going to be no less episodes on the main free feed. You will still be getting 2 to 3 episodes on the main feed every week for free. And then the Patreon is just extra. But thank you guys for being here. I hope you enjoy the episode with Jared Lipscomb. And I love you, BBs. I'll see you next time. Jared Lipscomb, welcome to the Bravo Investigator Podcast.
Thank you for having me. So excited to be here.
I'm so excited to have you here. This is so amazing. I know you've had a really busy weekend and you've got a lot to do, and you have your own podcast, This Side of the Hill. So you've got a lot on the go, but I appreciate you being here because, you know, we have some hot topics to discuss. One of which is you, though.
I love it. Yeah, there's a lot to discuss, I fear. So, but I'm ready, you know. We have a lot to investigate, I suppose.
We have lots to investigate. Well, you are actually somebody that I've been following for years, but most people may know you as somebody who's sort of, I mean, I think it's actually a term that Janet coined, NPC, a non-playable character on Vanderpump Rules in the Valley. So that's a term that I've been using for many a years, probably a la Janet. And, so you're someone that I've followed, and I know that you've gone through a cancer journey. You've gone through so many different interesting battles, and you've had such just a rich history on your own that we haven't gotten to see because you are an NPC. So I really wanted to talk to you today a little bit about you, and then we'll get into sort of how you know all of these Vanderpump and Valley people. But you know, Jared, I wanted to know originally where you're from and how you actually made your way to LA, because that's where you are now. But who are you and where are you from?
I love it. Oh my God. And also the NPC thing. It's such a joke that we've had for years. And
is it?
So freaking funny. Yeah, because it's like, because people be like, you know, the whole thing, it's just hilarious. So I appreciate you giving this non-playable character a backstory, you know,
yes.
A little backstory.
Well, you have one.
I know, right?
You're a whole human man.
There's a whole 3-dimensional human, maybe even 4-dimensional, some might argue. So I grew up, I'll give you, the short of it is, I grew up in a very evangelical, pastoral Christian household in the South. So as a child, my parents, we moved around a lot. My dad was a minister, and so it was just kind of like all, and when I say South, I'm talking North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, up to Indiana for a spell, which isn't technically there, but you know, and then we somehow along the lines, my parents, went to college and discovered a little bit more outside of that evangelical bubble. Okay. So by the time I was like 10 or so, and lucky that happened, because obviously I was starting to realize that I was queer and, you know, attracted to men and all that stuff. So by the time I was able to that I just did come out of the closet, like post puberty and stuff, my parents were kind of out of that field. And we had settled in Florida. I discovered like musical theater and like other gay people. And I say to avoid this kind of long-winded story, I just say I'm from Florida because that's where I like finished high school, went to some college, and I just knew I was never going to stay in like a small town life. Even though I was in Orlando, it's still like it just was always, it was like a little bubble. Like I had,
Hmm.
you know how it is, and I didn't know what I wanted to do really. My brother had moved out to Los Angeles a few years before me. So I had family here and I was like, well, I'm going somewhere big, and I loved Britney Spears and watching all the paparazzi videos, even though they're so, in hindsight, it's like, wow, that was so awful. But just like, I learned so much of the hot spots, you know what I mean? I'm like, I want to see the Chateau Marmont. I want to go to, like the La Brea Tar Pits, like just all of it. So really, it was just like one of those things where I was like, okay, I'm just going to pack up and move. And I had not a plan. I did drag as kind of a hobby. I wasn't doing it professionally. So I was like, well, that's a place where I could explore doing some drag. And there's not that pressure of like, have a wife and kids. All my friends in Florida were starting to settle down because, you're 24. It's time to settle in until retirement. So it was time for me to go. And I ended up out here and then just did what everyone does. Well, not everyone, but a lot of people do, which is get a job at a restaurant and make a ton of friends. And I came to work one day in full drag for a Halloween party. And like I was waiting tables in full drag. And all the girls were like, your skin looks so good. And everyone you work with in Los Angeles is that's a waiter, is also an actress and a model.
Right.
It's basically like everything is the first few seasons of Vanderpump Rules. You know
Right.
what I mean? It really is. And that's why I didn't even know about the show because I moved here in 2012. I think that's the same year they either started filming or it debuted or something. Like I couldn't afford cable. And this is pre-Peacock. The only streaming was Netflix on my laptop. So it's like everyone I know has lived that same kind of thing. So they were all like actors and models, and all my friends were like, hey, I have like headshots. I don't want to pay like the extra $350 for makeup. Will you do? And I'm like, you want me to do your makeup? Like that's a job. In Florida, that's only for like brides and funerals. I'm like, how can, like, I didn't know this was an option. And then from there, I just was like, just kind of went all in. I was like, how do I do this? And I kind of have one of those personalities where I'm like, let me get to the bottom of how to like figure it out. So they said, find a really great makeup artist that you can assist. And I found this fabulous guy who kind of taught me to marry my drag and hone it down he was from like Sweden. So he had a very like refined European style. And I trained with him. And then next thing it's like, oh, we have my friend, she's on this show called Orange is the New Black. She's nominated for a SAG award. Can you do, her makeup for this? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, she doesn't have a lot of budget. She wasn't a big character on it, but
But still, wow.
it's,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's one of those things where my portfolio just kind of exploded because it's like, oh, now you have immediately like just these fabulous red carpet photos. And yeah, and that's how I ended up doing makeup. And then that's how I fell into just kind of word of mouth into the NBC Universal realm. And that's where I met the Vanderpump Rules cast doing touch-ups for
Right.
them for the after show.
Okay, well, a couple back questions. So, I mean, I guess you're right. I guess a lot of people go to LA with sort of the same story, but I don't know. Did you have any fear in just going there with no plan? I mean, you had your brother there, so I guess there's that fallback of, you're not going to end up homeless, but everything just sort of worked out for you, right? You just sort of fell into all the things, not that you didn't work hard, I didn't mean it that way. You
Yeah,
sort of
no.
fell into all the things that you loved, and you ended up being able to turn all of those things into a career, which is the goal, right? We want to do the things we love for a living. So, I mean, that's so amazing. But was there any fear that that just wouldn't work out for you and that you'd have to maybe go back to Florida?
I mean, I guess because when you're so young and you don't have like I had nothing tying me down to Florida aside from my family, which would always be like, you're always welcome back here, if you know what I mean. But I mean, I guess not just because of like that young, dumb, and just like full of dreams and stuff. So
Wow.
no, I mean, I didn't, and then once you get out here and you start to have a rhythm, it just becomes your life, and then you're just like, well, I'm here now.
Yeah.
So um but it was a lot, it is a lot longer than it feels. Like when you tell the
Mhm.
story back, it's like, oh my gosh, like I got a job. And the next thing you know, it's like I was doing it. And it does in hindsight feel like that. But of course, like you said, it was a journey. There was plenty of times where I'm like, I cannot keep doing this. Like I cannot be working as a waiter at night and doing makeup in the day and like, but no, I just love it here so much. And I just don't like small town vibe. So it was just kind of like, well, my option is to stay or to go somewhere else, like New York or something, which doesn't fit my kind of fla-di-da vibe.
Right.
So
Well, speaking of which, I actually want to know a little bit more about your drag because I know your drag name is Sparkle, but can you tell
yeah.
us just a little bit more, like, how did you get into drag? Is it a passion for you? What has it given you in your life? Just a little bit more about Sparkle.
Yeah, so Sparkle is my drag alter ego that I developed. I was able to live in Edinburgh for about a year with my college
Oh, cool.
travel abroad kind of thing. Technically, it was study abroad, but I forgot to register for any of the classes, so I ended up just like living there with. And I had a friend who I knew previously, so he was in the Edinburgh. He was in the School of Arts, which is kind of like a very they kind of started the Fringe Festival, which is like all
Oh,
those
yeah, yeah.
plays and stuff. Yeah, so it originated in Edinburgh, and his art school was like very involved. So he was doing this project, and it was like, Drag Race had just started. It was the height of Britney Spears, paparazzi craze, and he wanted to do some sort of like one woman show about kind of like a not a spoof, almost like a satire on Britney Spears. And somehow it ended up, he was like, why don't, he's like, you have the best Southern accent for obvious reasons compared to all the Scots he was with. He's like, why don't you just do it in drag? And I was like, okay. And literally I just put on a wig, put on eyeliner, like the whole, and then I was like, this is like, and just stuffed toilet paper into a bra and plaid skirt. I wore, I think, like size 7 heels that we found that were like open toed and open back, so I could squeeze my size 12 feet into them. And that was the first time I did it. And the play it was actually so funny because it was like a 45-minute one woman play. I improv'd a lot of it, but we had practiced a lot as well. And it won second place. So it gave me that like kind of encouragement, like, oh, like I
Yeah.
can do this. And then I just took it home with me to Florida, and I was like, you guys, like, look what I discovered. It's like, I can be a drag queen. And then also like the attention of it was really fun to be like, because in Edinburgh, obviously it was, pretty much more common than what I was used to.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, I was like, oh my God, like you have these people who want to take pictures with you and like, who are just like, yes, yes, like just loving it. So I was like, I got to do this in Florida. And I just kept doing it. And I made my friends do it. And our thing was we go to pop concerts in drag. So like Lady Gaga was touring, Britney Spears
Ah.
started the circus tour. Any pop act that had a show in Florida, we would get decked out and show up at, and then go to the clubs after.
Mhm. I love that.
And I've channeled that energy just forever. I'm always like, people ask me like, oh, what's it like to, like when you do drag? And I'm like, it's just an excuse to be like a more psychotic version of yourself. So like if I'm feeling like sassy and like a little like annoyed, I pop on drag and I'm able to just,
I was
you
gonna
know,
fill that in for you and say elevated, and you said psychotic, and I love that
yeah,
so much more.
yeah. So
Oh
you can
my
get
God.
away with saying a little bit more and stuff like that. So, but I love it. It's I would say it's definitely a passion in a way. It's not something like I'm not passionate enough to do it every day, and I don't want to make it a career. I don't want to lose the fun of it. But like once a year, once or twice a year, I did a drag show last year for the first time after being sick and the pandemic and everything. And I used to do yearly drag shows, and so I'm excited to kind of bring that back. I think I'll have another this October. It looks like in a partnership with one of my charities. So yeah, but it's definitely a passion. I just love it, and it's something that it's something that I've been able to use also like during my, during cancer and everything. Cause it's like something you kind of just have to like channel a little bit. Just kind of
Right.
like, it sounds cheesy, but you just have to be in the moment to understand like how it's like, okay, like I got to force myself to get up and walk around these fucking hallways with a 10,000 cords attached to my body and this pole that I have to roll around. So sometimes you have to pop in your headphones and be like, okay, I'm going to listen to my drag mix that I performed in 2016 and remember and just catch my breath and remember the routine, even if it's just in my head while I take the steps on rhythm. So
Right.
there's a lot of power in drag, I think. And that, I think that's like just like self-expression and art. There's a lot of power in that in and of itself. But yeah, I love it. It's definitely one of my favorite hobbies of mine. So that's Sparkle,
I love
LA's
Sparkle.
poorest socialite.
That's so funny. That tagline. Well, you
Yeah.
mentioned being sick, and it's something that I've followed a little bit on Instagram, your journey over time. I know that you were diagnosed with some kind of leukemia, and that it sort of led you to some organizations like Be the Match, and I think you're an ambassador for the Lymphoma and Leukemia Society, if I'm correct. So, can you talk to us, if you feel comfortable, a little bit about what exactly your diagnosis was, what that journey was like for you, and you sort of have talked about what helped you through it, but I guess what
Yeah.
it taught you and what you kind of came out from it.
Yeah. So, in 2019, actually after Jackson Brittany's wedding, I started to feel really ill. And I took a break from working for like a week and was just like going to all these doctors because I had dropped 40 pounds over about a month period. I was, vomiting, nauseous, had severe migraines to the point where I was like almost vision loss kind of vibes.
Wow.
And I went to finally I was seeing all these specialists because obviously the first thought is not cancer. It's like, oh, you have severe migraines, you're having weight, well, like it's anything except cancer. And so finally a doctor's like, you just need to go to one of, like, there's a lot of fabulous hospitals here that do, a lot of just cutting edge stuff. So they're like, you just need to go to one of these hospitals, one of their emergency rooms, and just let them do like the full thing. And I was August 25th, 2019, I went into that emergency room, and on August 27th, I was diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia and did not leave the hospital. I started treatment pretty much right. Like they had to get me out of emergency into another floor, but I never left the hospital. I started, I think, a week later, chemo. And that was, yeah, it was a long journey. And they said basically with acute myeloid leukemia, it's really not common except in like adults over like 65. So it was a little weird. There was no reason for it. It doesn't run in the family. There's no, you know what I
Didn't
mean?
want to
It's
be
just
that
like,
kind of special.
yeah, it's just like random as hell. And they do the primary treatment to cure it is a stem cell transplant, which is done by a living donor who has willingly, signed up for a registry, as you mentioned. Like Be the Match is one here in the States. I can't remember what it's called in Canada, although Be the Match might now service both. But if you
think it
type in
might
stem
be.
cell transplant registry, you can find yours for for everyone's country. Because each one has their own, but they're all connected over like the global, transplant. There's a name for it, but they're all connected. So it all
I'll
gets,
link
because
it in the show notes. I'll make sure to link.
yeah, thank you. So basically it said to live, you are going to need one of these transplants. So then the next few months after that initial like induction chemo of getting everything under control and getting like, just the cancer cells blasted out of there and stuff, they just have to keep doing that. You just have to stay on chemo until you find a match. And there's a whole set of like genetic testing that they do. And the way they, when they find someone who might be a match, they do a quick blood test and see if like it works, if it's going to be a full on match. And then if they are, then they have to agree to do it, because it's not, I mean, it is a process,
Yeah.
it's not like they're slicing open your bones and getting, because it used to be called a bone marrow transplant. And so people would be
Yeah.
like, oh my God, very, very scary sounding. But what they're doing is taking out the stem cells from like the marrow within. It's essentially like a plasma blood draw if you are a donor. So eventually they told me there was like this young man in Germany. They don't tell you anything about him except where he's from and his age. This 26-year-old guy in Germany is going to be your donor. And maybe in 2 years, if he signs off, you can meet him. And transplant itself can be very risky. It's a high risk process. And luckily mine was successful in 2020, just in time for the pandemic. And we sat around, me and my, family, and just stayed safe. And then I recovered. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. It was a long process. It's wild. I had to get a couple hip replacements after, just like the
Wow.
after effects of everything.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also something powerful in that, and knowing like, oh, there was also like during this time, like a stranger across not even the country, across the globe, who was like, oh, sure, here you go. And then meeting him 2 years later in
Oh, you got to meet
2022,
him. Wow.
I did,
What
yeah,
was
with
that
Be the
experience
Match.
like? Oh my
It was
gosh.
surreal, and everyone, I got to bring all my friends there to meet him, and like to the gala where it was actually they do it in it's very beautiful, but it's very over the top. Like we did not meet at all until on stage at the gala together. Like we were kept in separate places, and
Drama.
yeah, and so then it's like we met for the first time. And then I had a bunch of stuff planned for us the rest of the trip, and like we partied afterwards. I have this hilarious video. This is so left field, but like I'm just looking at the video of us partying somewhere here in the valley, and we were learning how to say Brittany has tiggle bitties in German. So it's like, it was just like, he's fun and it's like a celebration. You know what I mean? It's like, yes, it's
Yeah.
beautiful what he did. And of course, it's like, I like to, acknowledge and be like, very like, it's so beautiful. It's so like, encourage everyone to do it. But also it's like, he's a real 20 something year old. He just likes to have fun and to almost like it humanizes them even more. Cause it's like, he's not just like this. I mean, he is a superhero, don't get me wrong, but he's also just like this real down to earth guy who's just like, hell yeah, I'm going to help other people. So knowing that, it's just like, it kind of reframes how you view the world a little bit, like, oh, there's some really good people out there.
I love
And
that.
I am so lucky to have someone like that in my life, who's not just this like hero who I don't feel like uncomfortable or like, oh my God, like you're a saint. I mean, again, I do think he's a saint. I do think people who do this, like, there's no, he's just such a cool, normal guy. And like, we're friends. So it's just so wild to think
I
that,
love that.
just like this normal guy was just like, oh yeah, I'm going to just randomly decide to sit there for 6 hours, get my plasma drawn. And 2 years later, I found out I saved his life. And it's just like, and he was just so
Wild.
happy and just like, yeah, it just was the best experience. I just adore him. Marion, my hero forever.
And so what's your prognosis now?
I am cancer free. It's been 5 years last year of remission, and this is my 5 years of transplant, so now basically you got to get the 5 year mark and you're good
Okay.
for it.
Yeah, I've heard
You're
that.
kind of like so now
In the
I go to the
clear
doctor
ish.
once a year. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I've been waiting for that. So this is my first year where I don't have to go but once a year. So it's really
Right.
exciting.
That is amazing. I'm really happy for you.
Yeah.
And I think that is such a cool experience because, like, in some other situations, like, you might be getting somebody's body part because they've died, right? So it's really cool
Yeah.
that you get to know him and you both get to continue to live on, right? So it's weird how the
Yeah.
body works. It's weird how the world works. And I love what you said about reframing it. And there are such good people in the world because that can sort of get lost so often, right? And
Yeah.
I think an interesting segue into that is your relationships with, some of our favorite people on TV. And you did mention that your friendships with the Vanderpump Rules / the Valley people sort of started when you got into makeup, you got into NBC Universal. And so you initially said you started doing the makeup for some of the girls for the after show. Is that right?
Just touch-ups. Yeah. They were just like,
Touch
give
ups
me
for
a
the after
touch-up
show.
artist. Yeah. And I was like, oh my gosh, I would love to. And I vibed with Brittany and Kristen really quickly. And then Brittany
Hmm.
and I obviously just clicked over kind of like our Southern, I was still new. She was still new-ish, just like a couple years. But, well, not too long in LA. I think newer for her because it was just after I think it was for season 6, the after show that we were doing. But yeah, we just clicked. And then because at the time, at least, the group of girls were so clicky, I guess, but also, I mean, rightfully so, because they were just starting to get kind of like that. When season 6 airs was the kind of like the change, like, it was post, like, it was the season, I think, where Jax and Faith did, the whole
Right.
cheating
So it's
scandal.
interesting you became friends with Brittany at that time. That was a hard time for
Yeah.
her.
Yeah, it really was. And they were already to the point of like rekindling at that, like starting to, make it like so. But I was, broke as a joke, so I didn't have cable, so I wasn't watching the show. The last I knew was like, oh, the last Housewives I knew was Orange County, you know what I mean? So, or Beverly Hills, I guess. So, but then I was like, oh my God, you guys know Lisa Vanderpump? I'm like, that's crazy, like, but because it's such like a small group, and they were starting to, there was some trust being broken because it's like they were becoming celebrities, but they had no, like A-list celebrities have people to protect them from security to PR to everything. So there were some people like selling stories and just being a little too
Ugh.
whatever. So they were feeling like a little, I could just tell the vibe was like, let's not let more people in. So then it became one of those things where it's like Brittany and Kristen were like, oh, Jared's good at makeup, and like, we can chit chat with him, and he doesn't seem to be spreading any, like whatever. And so then it was like, oh, hey Jared, this is Stassi. Can you do, Ice Queen makeup
Oh, I
for my
love
birthday?
that. And I
And I'm
actually just
like,
saw it was live on TV yesterday, and I saw you in the background. I saw you. And Brittany's like, hey, Jared, can you stop for a second? Because she wanted to go tell something to Jags. I saw that.
yeah. Yeah.
Cameo.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. So and then it just went from there. And then
Mhm.
Stassi's like, then Stassi was like, oh, I actually have a book cover, and I'm like, well, I don't have a book cover in my portfolio. Let's do it, girl. And then, I started doing Ariana, who that's how we became so close, just spending,
Hmm.
she's like, well, I need someone to do it for these like little Bravo shoots and all that stuff. So yeah. And it just is because it was a small group, we were just always together kind of, and it's like, and then Bradley, who does hair, it was just us. We're the only glam people. They really weren't working with stylists. Bravo is so cheap about that kind of thing.
Oh, interesting.
And so it wasn't like this full glam squad. It was just Bradley, me, and the girls. And, I joke with Sheena a lot now because like at the time her and Lala were the only two I've never done like proper makeup on, which is wild because I'm so close with Sheena right now and Lala too. But like I talk to Sheena almost every day now. And I'm like, the reason we weren't friends, I was like, because you guys had some weird, I was like, you were apparently on the wrong side of history or something. Cause I was like, cause all the girls were together and always talking shit about you. And I was like, and you were never there. And she's like, I know it was blah, 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 blah. And I was like, well, anyways, so there would always be that kind of like stuff going on. But, yeah, that's how, so it just kind of got thrown into the mix. And then when you just vibe with people, it's kind of like the way I am as a makeup artist too, or always have been. It's like I would rather have the same people and have the consistency because it's also a stressful field of work of like meeting new people, hoping that they like your style, hoping that it, leads to more jobs. I'd rather have the consistency and the safety of like working with the same people. And then you build a relationship.
For
And I
sure.
think that's what happened. And, we're the same age, a lot of similar history, just from like I said, like moving out to LA, working in restaurants, just the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
So it was just a natural progression of friendship. And then Brittany really we just really bonded and she just really appreciated the way I did her makeup. So we would end up traveling a lot together. And I think
Okay.
that really solidified our friendship. It's like traveling to watch What Happens Live with her, traveling to do her wedding, because a lot of people will book locally for that kind of stuff. So it meant a lot to me as like, I was like, oh my gosh, like we're, like you like my makeup enough to like, take care of what it costs to have your makeup artist and friend travel with you. So it was a cool experience doing it. And then also just becoming such close friends with everyone. It's always nice when you meet a new, have a new group of friends
Right.
and that you just are like, oh my God, more my people, like more of my people. So especially in a town like LA, which can be so, crazy.
Well, like I said, I saw you in the background of those shows. So, what's it been like being in the background of, groups of scenes where there's like parties going on, where these are your real friends and you're really invited to these events? So, what's it been like sort of being on the periphery of these events over the years?
Yeah, I mean, it's different like when I'm doing makeup for it and I know like they're filming like me doing makeup. It's very relaxing because it's like I don't have to worry about anything. I'm just
Hmm.
like, oh, I just hope I don't embarrass myself. Like, and someone, you get paranoid for a second. You're like, someone's gonna zoom in and saw like I made a mistake and they're not gonna book me for a
No.
job,
Oh my
and you're like, oh.
God.
So that's like the stuff you think about in the first, like when it first starts happening. So the first of that kind of thing, I was just like, whatever, like it's just like it's cool. I love it. Like I think I'll never get over like when people be like, "Oh my God, I saw you on the Valley." I'm like, "Oh my God, you did!" Like what? Like I'm like, "What part?" Like where? What was it? It used to be the flipping off. Everyone's like, "You were flipping somebody off on the phone," and I'm like, "Oh my God!" But I get a kick out of it. I mean, it's so it's so fun and cool, and it's just like seeing your friends do it though. So like obviously it was a shell shock to see it because I didn't start with the girls when they were actively filming. So seeing them go into filming, I was like, oh, like okay, like we're sitting here having a good time, and then next thing you know, like someone's like tap tap tap, like, and then
Right.
I'll be sitting there watching, and I'm like, you guys are why, like, oh my God, because that's I feel like that's the obviously, as we know, it's like a normal situation, you wouldn't have to talk about the issue you're having with the person within a 24-hour period. So
Right.
I guess seeing that the first time was wild. Now with the Valley, it's a different vibe because it's literally like I'm not going to not be at Janet's birthday party just because it's on camera. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's
Right.
like, so it's a little bit a different vibe because obviously I don't want to interrupt, like there's a production there and people are working really hard to make an amazing show and like an entertaining show and all that stuff. So you don't want to mess it up, but you also have to just kind of like, it is reality and the cameras are there. So it's just kind of a balance. I mean, again, like this with the Valley, since like I'm so close with Janet, and there's been a lot of like hard hitting stuff between people who were my friends and who, all of this stuff, it's been more complex. So it's like, obviously like, if there's a moment where maybe they're like, they need Janet has to talk to somebody or whatever, I'm not going to run over and be like, oh, like I would normally. But instead, as soon as she's done, I'm like, okay, like what's going on?
Right.
How are we feeling? What's happening? And the same with Brittany, like just any of it. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's just like kind of becomes, it's just like,
Normal.
I don't know.
Natural.
I feel like it's like when you're
Forget it.
working at a restaurant, it's like you go to a table and you have to, like, your friend's not going to come up and cry to you when you're taking a restaurant order at a table or something. So it's like, you just kind of have to view it like that. It's like, okay, I don't, and again, it's because you have to respect production and all that stuff. Like there is that element where it's like, yes, this still is a television show. And
Right.
so my feelings of like, whatever I'm feeling in the moment, like, don't supersede everyone who's working very hard. So
Right.
so it's just a balancing act. And then
Yeah.
it's just kind of like afterwards, it's a lot of decompressing if it's like a heightened or dramatic experience. And if it's something fun, like, or well, not fun for Michelle, but fun for us at Dave and Buster's, then that's easy. That's just like we're just having a good time.
Yeah.
So
Well, have you ever
so
wanted to be a castmate? Like, have you ever wanted to like sign a contract and like actually be on the show?
I would absolutely do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think there's any thing holding me back that would stop me. I don't have a lot of hesitation for it. I don't have like, I'm not worried. You know how like it's like you really got to think like skeletons in the closet,
God,
like
yeah.
all of this stuff that just like kind of comes to the forefront. And I feel, yeah, I would definitely do it. And especially with something like, I mean, this is just me saying like the nothing is happening with it. No one knows what's going on with casting. I see half the time I see a post and be like, everyone in the cast is fired and they're bringing in, the entire cast of Laguna Beach. And then
Those
it's like,
bots, I swear.
yes. And then Alex Baskin will
Has to be
repost
like,
it and
no.
be like, no, this isn't happening. But I will say, for out of anything that makes the most sense, it would be something like The Valley, because it's like, it's
Right.
already on my friends, and like, hell yeah. Like and then it's like, oh, you get to hang out with your friends more. Plus you get to do photo shoots with them. Okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, if the opportunity ever presented itself in the right situation. Now listen, if I meet the man of my dreams and I start, because I want to have kids and everything, I'll have to rethink it. But right now, where I'm at in life, oh, easy. It would be a no-brainer for me.
Yeah. Well, for sure. Well, you mentioned earlier that you're close friends with Janet. And as we've seen, the fandom has had a lot of mixed feelings about Janet. So I was wondering if you could tell me who Janet is to you and why she is a good friend to you. But I just want to
So
know
yeah,
from like if someone were to be like, oh, this is my friend Janet, and who's never seen the show, just hi, nice to meet you on the street. This is my friend Janet. Oh, what do you love about like one of those people on the street that come up to you and ask you why that couple is in love, right? So someone
yeah.
comes up to you and says, like, this is my best friend Janet. Why do you love your best friend Janet?
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, so it's easy, and this is how it has always been. It's like Janet is that person when you introduce her. Like when I introduced her to my parents, I'm like, oh, this is my new friend Janet. Like, I think I'm becoming her best friend. She's just like, she's one of those people who can talk your ear off, but like makes you you feel like she's engaged when she talks to you. You know what I mean? Like that's like the first takeaway is like, oh wow, like every time I've introduced Janet to one of my friends, to my family members, they're like, Janet is one of the nicest, most engaging people I've ever met. And she is. And that's like who she genuinely is. And she's direct and she knows how to handle situations. I call her, like, in our friendship, I love that she is I need a little bit of guidance. It's been hard after the 5-6 years that I've had where, I still get brain fog. It's hard to navigate some kind of sometimes normal things like driving at night. So she's also very protective and a caretaker. She's naturally a caretaker. She's got like a voracious appetite for moral justice. And I really, it's been a tough time politically since 2016, really. So finding people who are not necessarily outspoken to the point where it's like, okay, like, we get it, but just like who put their money where their mouth is and believes the same things as me.
Yeah, aligned.
Aligned, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And for good, like and on stuff. And I think
not in an evil ways.
yeah. And because it's not just like, oh, we're aligned on like pop culture, like movies that we think funny. It's like, no, on like moral ethics, where we stand with, just on everything. But yeah, I mean, she's obviously a complex, person, but as a friend, I mean, she's fun, she's funny, and just one of those people you just connect with. And it's like we were together yesterday for like 12 hours, and the entire time it's just laughs, it's more laughs. We sit there on our phones for a little bit, and then we just start talking about, oh my God, just like best friend stuff that you can't almost explain.
Yeah.
But Yeah, I mean, aside from I mean, like she is a, she is a direct person and says exactly how she feels, and I love that. Like I'm in my phase of like life is too short. I don't have time for the wishy washy. It's my over dramatic like response to being told I have a 60 70 30 chance of living dying. So I have the mindset of like, okay, let's be direct. Like if there's issues, let's solve them. Um, so there's a lot to Janet that I think maybe probably doesn't come through on the show just based on how it's 45-minute episodes with 14 people, cast members getting like little moments to move a story along. um
Well, where do you think the fandom has it wrong about Janet? What's the disconnect between what you know and between how the fandom feels? Because you must feel, I assume, that there's a disconnect. Because
yeah.
as you've described her, she is a great friend to you. You love her a lot. She's a huge part of your life. So, what's it been like for you to watch the fan reaction to her in season one, have it be even more vitriol in season two? And just where do you think the fandom has it wrong?
Well, I want to add, Janet is a good friend to everyone who knows her. Do you know what I mean? It's like there's a reason why Janet has so many friends, and it's not because like when I think about Sheena and like the whole like, oh, she was a fan that met her. I'm like, no, when you meet Janet, you're like, I love this. Like it makes sense. It's just like, and I listen. I'm one of those people too. I'm not. Especially before I was sick, I used to be. I was very proud of my vivacious, outgoing personality. I can still be like that, as you can tell. But real recognizes real. So when I see that, I'm like, okay, you go off. Now for the disconnect, it's a couple of things. I think there's been some when you have like OG cast members leaning into what fans are kind of like hinting at or saying, like, oh, she's trying to be like Stassi from season one. You have that, and then if you have an OG repeating that in press, then all of a sudden that becomes kind of like, oh, you've just spoken that into existence. So it was already kind
Okay.
of an unfair start, I think, with that because it's like. She wants to be the queen bee. She wants to be, and that was kind of the kickoff to the season. And it's like, where's this even coming from? Are we watching the same show? I think some of it, again, and I go back to the directness. I think a lot of people, Janet is just, I think, how do I say this without sounding like pretentious? I feel like in our society, women are expected a little bit to be a bit more apologetic in the way that they approach situations. And I feel like just in general, not even in
Softer,
the
maybe?
specifics of the valley, softer. I think there's this expectation that women have to be soft, they have to be a certain way, and if you're not, you are a bitch, you're horrible, you're this or that. And I know for a fact, and it's one of the reasons that I like her, that Janet says what she feels and doesn't really have the need to be like, to give you a sandwich, like a positivity sandwich,
A
like we're
compliment sandwich.
adults. Yeah, it's not like, hey, like just so you know, like you're really, I like your hair. You're not coming on my baby moon, and you're really cute. Like it's not gonna be like that. It's gonna be uh, like no, it's just not gonna be like that. So I feel like that is one of the first things. I feel like seeing someone who's new and coming against the OG, I think that the optics of that, it's like, oh, you have someone who's facing off against someone that it's television still. So it's a character, even though Kristen is a real person, we're all real people. She
Hmm.
still is a beloved figure on television. And so I think that really rubbed people the wrong way. And I just don't know. I don't want to be one of those people who like blames the edit because like everything that did happen, you know what I mean? Like everything did happen. I think when you leave out certain aspects it's easier for it to be more ambiguous. So it's like, actually, Janet, you know what? Like, fuck Janet for that. So it's like, I feel like it's like semi hate, like the normal kind of like, oh, I don't like that she did that, compounded with this like thing of like, who do you think you are? And I think it's a big, like, kind of who do you think you are vibe. I think it's like, you should not be speaking like that. You should not be approaching like, you got this job because of these people. And then it's like, well, but what is the job? The job is to, like, I'm sorry, the job is conflict resolution. Like, that's literally the basics of all storytelling. And this is a TV show telling a story. Just instead of writing it, they're using what's really happening and just kind of, navigating through it and highlighting the interesting parts of the stories.
If she's made any missteps so far, what do you think they are?
I
If.
mean, no one's perfect.
No,
I'm
of
sure
course
there's
not.
like little things. I gotta be honest, I watch a show and then I kind of forget about it. So I can't remember every detail about every little thing that's happened. I am sure there are things if I would rewatch, be like, oh, don't do that. Her standing there, when she was waiting to go to the bathroom and she's standing there and she's like doing her little, they make it look like she's doing like her evil
Evil,
smirking
yeah.
smile, like that kind of thing. I'd be like, Janet, just keep it moving, like that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. Um, I mean, no, I don't think so. I think it's like she's reacting to everything that's happening is like her reaction to really annoying and real stuff. And sometimes all they're going to show is the reaction and
Right.
not the action that caused that reaction. And I think, I will say this: Janet can overreact, and I always say, "I'm like, do not walk away." She walks away too much. I will say that, like, don't walk away, stay. And I tell her, I'm like, just stay. I say, say, you tell someone to leave. You say, I'm sitting. You go. You know what I mean?
I
I
think the
will say
walk
that.
away is classic reality TV as well.
I
It's
know, but
fine.
I do get onto her about it. I say, just stay. Like, you don't have to walk away. Like, damn. So I will say, I bet you she could stay. She could walk away like 2 times too less or something. Um, but yeah, I mean, the disconnect, I don't know. I don't know what makes a person a fan favorite and what makes it not. It's weird because, because I know these people on a personal level, and some of them are just such bad people. And so, not, I mean, some are horrible people, some are just shitty, maybe a little morally
Mediocre.
questionable. Yeah, so it's wild that someone who I view as such a good person, and not just like a good friend, like I'm saying, and I don't want to sit here and just like kind of suck her dick and be like, oh my god, she's so amazing. I hope everyone realizes she's amazing. But from my POV, she is amazing, and it's wild to me that some of these people are being like elevated and lauded, which is fine. Celebrate who you want to celebrate. But the exchange is to beat down a person. And I tell you, like, when I started to not give a shit about any of this, and where I think feeding into like, if you're a cast member and you're feeding into the hate, I think it's really fucking stupid. And I think it's embarrassing to be in the comments like that. And I think it's really embarrassing to kind of activate that hate. And what really triggered that for me is when Janet showed me some of the DMs.
What's that been like for you to find out that she's received this horrifying online hate to the point where people are threatening her life and the life of her child? Like, what's
I
that
mean,
been
it's
like?
horrifying. And then to see the racism come out, because obviously she's married to a biracial man, her child's a quarter black, seeing the N word written out in her messages about her child, it's sickening. It's
Oh, about
really,
her child? Oh my God.
yeah.
I
I
didn't know
mean,
that was
it's,
happening. Oh my God.
no, it's really, I mean, we don't, we're not going to go on our podcast and talk about it. We talk about pop culture and fun stuff. We address certain things. And I think this has been going on since season 1. And obviously there's, some guidance within internally to help with it. Um, but it's been really, really hard. And I guess that's why it's so frustrating, why it's kind of like all over the place. Because it's like, I'm thinking of what's happening on the show in these 45 minutes that people are watching. And then I'm seeing the effect it's having on some of these people. And I don't know. I even saw on Reddit, someone said,
Never read it.
which Reddit, they
I don't
like,
even read it. Jared, get out of
I
here.
love Reddit. Like I'm on Dreddit, which is like the horror Reddit. It's called Dreddit. It's like the
Okay.
best. So they have all the horror things. So I love it. I have to avoid the Valley and the Vanderpump subreddits at this point. But before I did start, I saw something after I saw after she shared that a woman was really psychotic and said like she's said to keep an eye on her child when she's not with him, and like she says she knows where she lives and she knows what the child does when she's away, and just really scary. You know what I mean? Like it's like in theory,
Terrifying.
you think, does she know my house? Does she know, like, did she somehow like Google map it? And like, does she really hate me this much that you just never
It's
know,
it's
because then
not that crazy. Fans
it's
do
not, I
crazy
mean,
shit like that.
there has been crazy shit. It's so freaky and weird. But I saw on Reddit people, and they hate on Janet. They're good for them. And it's like, but they said, this is insane that someone would post this on Reddit. They're saying this is insane that someone would do this. And someone was like, listen, we come here and we make our snark. And if they want to come and look at it, that's on them. And we're doing it anonymously. And none of us are commenting about kids, or I mean, I'm sure there are. I mean, it's Reddit. I'm sure there are people commenting about kids. But this person who commented is saying like, look, we're talking about a reality show here. Even the people on Reddit seem to know. So I don't know where this like certain subset of people who feel so emboldened to send messages, and it's like, would you, would you want your family to see this message? You
I
know what I
know.
mean? Like,
I
it is
know.
so weird. I can't think of like, I think like, I mean, I've tagged Lady Gaga when I've been at her concert. And so I just can't imagine messaging, aside from my girl Paris Hilton, who followed me on my drag account. I would
Oh my
message
God,
her like,
amazing.
I would be like, hey girl, it's your Mr. Sister. We had a little magazine spread together. But it's just so wild to
That's
me that
different. You've
anyone
met
would
her.
send,
Like you've
but
met
even if I
her.
had it, I would be being like, oh my gosh, I am a Paris Hilton stan. Like, I can't wait. You know what I mean? Just being like a crazy person, just being like, I
Hmm.
love ya. Like, so even that been like, okay, fine.
The
Like, if it's,
audacity of these people.
but to get up in there like that is so weird. And yeah, it's just one of those things. And it's not like, it's not to be dramatic, but it's, it's scary when it's like so many, because it just feels like the weight of it all. It's like, okay, I get that, I've offended. You don't like me. You think this, that, you really like Kristen, you really like Danny and Nia, like, but nothing obviously deserves that kind of vitriol and hatred. And I think it's really weird. And, you can say either way about Janet. Oh, she drives a lot of storyline, which, I mean, her name is brought up a lot and she's in the mix of a lot of things. Or you can want her fired. Good for you. Either way, it doesn't, the end result should never be a threat against her child or saying,
Exactly.
calling her husband or her baby the N word. There's no need for any of that hatred. It's so, so weird. And it's
100%.
a lot. I mean, it's like, scroll, scroll, scroll. And it's just so much. People are emboldened by it, man. It's freaky. So
Do you think
yeah, so
Janet
a
and
lot of I don't
Jason made a
care.
mistake going on the show?
I mean, I don't think I think you just kind of could have, would have. I don't think it's a mistake. I think it's a learning curve for sure. I think it was unexpected to see that there can be so much hate, like actual hate, not just like, oh, I don't like you, like you're the villain. Like, I think that was shocking, but I think it's a learning experience, and I think there's a lot of benefits from it also, and I think a lot of positives. And it's the same thing how I feel about like if I were to do the show. It's like Janet got asked, with Brittany, one of our best friends. And at the time, even though Chris and her were rocky before filming started, like that was one of her best friends. We were like a little quattro in 2021 and 2022, like the four of us would always be at Brittany's house swimming with Cruz. Like that was who the core four were. And
Mm.
then Michelle would come over with Isabella eventually. So it just it makes sense. Like, it's like, oh, all my friends are doing this. At the time, obviously, Jax wasn't as he has been. And so it just made, sense for them. And I think now it's almost kind of like they've dealt with it. Janet's really had to learn how to handle it, and she handles it like a champion, which some of it she shouldn't have to. Um, but I mean, who knows? They don't view it as a mistake. They're,
No.
I mean, yeah, no, they're not like, I think they're, yeah, I think it's shocking to see that there can be such not meanness, because people can handle being mean, but such like real hate, which
Yeah.
is just wild, because it is just, you don't know her and you don't know any of what's going on.
Yeah.
Half the drama is because people just don't want to be left out of an episode, so they get paid their full rate, because it's like episodic guarantees. So if you fuck with that, maybe it's a baby moon that doesn't, you fear you're not going to get on a baby moon. Maybe that's, you're panicking about your money, and so you go ham and you lean into it a little too hard, and then it ends up having consequences. And those, Janet's the one catching strays from that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
who knows?
Well, speaking of people who are sort of, involved in that, Jasmine has been really involved in sort of perpetuating a lot of that vitriol towards Janet this season. And like, are you friends with Jasmine? And just what did you think when you saw that scene of them at the beach? It just felt like she had all this pent-up anger. And do you feel like that was real, or do you feel like she's trying to do something, trying to create a storyline? Season two, got to make sure I'm really here, or is this her? Because, I don't know her. You do. So, like, what do
I
you
have to
think?
I have to be honest. I know her through my dear friends Sammy and
Okay.
Mel, who are not part of the show, but like they were very close with Jasmine and her girlfriend Melissa and Jason and Janet. So they're kind of the six of them were really close. So I know Jasmine and Melissa through them. We've spent
Mhm.
4th of July together up in the desert and have had times like that. I don't know her on a deep enough level
Mhm.
to know if this is calculated like reality show. Like I am gonna be planning this. Like I don't know how she thinks in that regard.
Mhm.
I will say we were all surprised by the amount of hate it seems to be harboring. Especially, I mean, Jason, it was like shocked.
Mhm.
Obviously, it was very apparent he was shocked. When I heard it, when they called me on the way home, and I was like, "Wait, what?" Like 2 days ago, it was all about how Jasmine was, still upset with Danny and still kind of processing everything about that, and Jason was still defending her. And I don't know. I know, her and Kristen rode together and it's a long drive from the valley to the beach. So I don't know if it's one of those situations where it's like you kind of hype someone up and are like, oh my gosh, you know what? Actually, if you think about it, blah, blah, blah. Also, her kind of argument was kind of all over the place too. Like it didn't feel like usually when you're mad at someone, it's for a reason. So I don't actually know what and I don't mean to laugh at her, but I just really don't know what she was mad about. She's mad. She's the Karen. She's got bad vibes. She's got bad energy. She wants to talk to Jason only. Like, I don't know. And
Okay.
I do not agree with the couple, like separating couples. Like, I just don't think that's normal. Like, they're a married couple, they're going to handle this together. So
No, for sure. Okay, so she did give a sort of an explanation on the after show. I don't know if you saw this.
I
So,
did it. So tell
okay,
me.
so she said that she is upset with Janet because apparently at some point in time, Janet didn't invite her to a game night, and that apparently Janet was upset with her for a period of time for calling her friends minions. And by friends, I assume that means you. Um, so if that's it, okay. I mean, I just don't know how deep that goes because like I said,
Yes. Okay. I know what you're talking about.
so,
Yeah.
so
No,
these seem to be
Janet,
the
just
two
remember
incidences that have
yeah,
led to
it was
this.
when the show was airing in season one when Jasmine made her little snarky comment. Janet's like, "Hey, are we still?" It was like one of those things, like, "Hey,
Yeah,
girl,
your
like, are
little
we still
minions.
good, or like, is this just like, how you felt in the moment, or like what?" And it was just like, uh, it was like, "Yeah, we're good," or something like that. But apparently now it's a big deal a year and a half later. So I don't know.
Which is funny because that's something people say about Janet. Like bringing up
Yeah,
small things
I know it's so
later.
weird how we pick and choose when it's, because this
Mhm.
ring thing was allegedly 3 years ago. Jason not wearing his wedding ring, which is wild because they're about to celebrate their 2 year anniversary. So I'm not sure what wedding ring he was not wearing. But it's interesting because that, we can just say that and throw it out there and it's no big deal. Like 3 years old might not be true. In fact, Kristen says it's not true. But we say one thing that might be true and didn't even mean for it to be on camera, talking about a private conversation with Michelle in season one. And then Kristen's got to bring it up, baby. It's her MO.
We do love Kristen. It's an interesting period of time in the Bravo history, right? And I'm not going to say I don't love Kristen. I do. Well, you know what? That's the weird thing about us as a fandom, and I'll just say, and this is something I've been bringing up a lot lately. We are in. Well, no, I'm not. Some people are in parasocial relationships with their favorite Bravo loves. And at the end of the day, we do not know any of you. I cannot love any of you. I've not met any of you. Hope to meet you at BravoCon if you'll be there.
Yeah. Oh
Okay,
my
yay.
God.
But you
Yes.
know what I mean? At the end of the day, it's so insane how hard people will ride for, let's say, Teresa Giudice. They will give their firstborn for this woman, and it's like
Yeah.
you don't even know her, right? And
Yeah.
it's like the Paige stuff too, and it's amazing that she's got her gigglers in her army, but to the point where these women believe that Paige is a friend of theirs, and she's not, right? And
Yeah.
so I can say that I love Kristen, and I can say I love this person or that person. At the end of the day, I don't know any of you. I have decided for the purposes of all of this, I'll decide as I go because each week we decide, what I always say is we're all humans. We all make mistakes. And so one week I might like somebody and one week I might not because I may not like what they said and the week after I might like what they said, just like I do in regular life, right? Like it's not,
Yeah,
you can't
totally.
love someone 100%. That wouldn't be realistic because one, you've never met them, and two, no one is perfect, right? We all make mistakes. And unfortunately for the people on reality TV that is being highlighted for them, I, thank God, do not have a camera on me all the time highlighting my mistakes, right? I mean, that being said, I go to work every day and then come home at the end of the day being like, you made so many mistakes. Oh my God, you're getting fired. You're getting fired. So,
Yeah.
I mean, we all go through our own aspects of it,
It
right? But
doesn't
like,
matter the situation.
yeah,
It's like we all have the same feelings. It's so
I'll,
true.
so yeah, I'll reel it back in and be like, yeah,
And let me just say, I think Kristen has been one of my closest friends for a long time. And
it's
so
hard.
I am feeling, I feel a certain kind of way because it's like, like I always thought I had my own relationship with her separate of Janet. And to be lumped together, is interesting. And, I'm the resident uncle for everyone. I go to Summer Moon and Ocean's gymnastic classes at their house. I do swim lessons with Janet's baby Cameron. I'm like around with, everyone. Cruz and me and Brittany will do swing set time. Cruz loves to swing. And it's
Hmm.
just like, so now that, she's got a baby, I'm hoping that there is a space. We don't have to go back to being best friends, but I do hope that there is a world where we can get back to some sort of semblance where it's like, hey, I want to come see your, like, I want to meet her baby. And like, I think she also has had, just like I had a rough 5 years, she had a rough 5 years, losing her house, getting fired, all of that stuff. And now she's back on TV and the job that she like loves. And she finally had her baby, which is something she's wanted since I've known her. So hopefully, you know, I feel like there's always an ebb and flow with stuff, and I feel like it's been really
Especially
intense
in
the
this
last
friend
two
group.
seasons. Yeah, exactly. And there's just been so
Nothing's
much other
forever.
shit. Yeah, and with all of Jax's stuff and Jesse's stuff and Danny's stuff, it's just so complex. So I feel like we got to work through some of that stuff, and as it does, I have hope that we can reconnect because we do. You know what I mean? It's like one of those things. It's like, yes, right now I'm like, oh, because I know a lot of it. I know a lot of the stuff with Janet and her going head to head is, it's just rough. It's just hard. And, but yeah, I have hope that it can, that I can at least meet the baby and like kind of we can go back to at
Sure.
least like
Yeah.
that, where we can be together and talk and at least small talk,
Right. Of course.
So we'll see.
Well, you mentioned so much going on, especially with the guys, and I wanted to ask you about Danny. So, have you yourself ever witnessed Dark Side Danny? And if so, what to the extent did you witness? Like, what was the worst thing you've ever witnessed Dark Side Danny to exhibit?
I have, um, we used to all hang out at Jax's a lot before
Hmm.
everything went down. Um, Part of me, like, I don't want to, it's like they are working themselves out. So it's like, I almost don't want to get back in the mix of it, but I will. How do I say it? It was the same kind of thing. And I was able to ask some of the people there, some of the guys there to have him leave for his own benefit. And they quickly did. After I saw him being inappropriate with people, not walking into a bathroom or something. There's layers. I just, it was just inappropriate, and it falls right in line with the other, the stuff with Jasmine and that kind of thing, and that had already happened. And so I
Well,
was
just to
just like,
clarify, so there's more than one incident. Like, we're
yeah,
talking
well,
about incidents
yeah,
aside from the Jasmine incident.
yeah.
Okay.
So it's not. That's the frustrating part. Is it's not. It almost feels like everyone's reaction. Everyone's seeing a reaction based off of one incident, which sometimes one might be one too many, but who knows? And I think knowing that it might not be, just a one-time thing, maybe puts it in a little bit more perspective of why we're feeling a little off about everything. So I don't know. I don't know how, I just know what I've seen and what I've been a part of directly. And this is, just from my literal POV with my own eyeballs, and just like at Jax,
Yeah.
it's just a night that, shouldn't have happened. And I'm so glad, even if they, I don't think Danny cares for me right now because of everything, being besties with Janet, I'm sure. But I still stand by, like, I think it was the right thing to do is to get a man an Uber sometimes, if you're too wasted, you still, like, I'm not going to let him sit there and make, you know what I mean? And so yeah, it was a mess. It was a hot mess. And I stand by getting the guys involved to help get him the fuck home.
Yeah.
And he did. And I think just knowing his history, that was probably for the best. So I'm happy that I, did that.
Yeah. I'm going to ask this, and you're probably not going to want to answer, and you can just say that you don't want to answer, and that can be fine. But I feel like as the fans, we are sort of diagnosing. So I want to ask you, do you think that Danny is an alcoholic?
I don't think you can determine that for someone else. I think that's a
Hmm.
personal decision.
Okay.
I think I think there's a misunderstanding that alcoholism or having a problem with alcohol is a certain type, a specific type of style, like binge drinking or having to wake up and have a hair of the dog every day. And I think it's important to note that it's not, you know what I mean? And I think everyone at some point in our 30s and 40s, we always have to take a moment to reevaluate our relationship with alcohol.
Yes.
I'm not comfortable saying that.
Okay.
I'm, from what I've witnessed, I can definitely see like, so maybe it would be smart to, but who am I to judge that? I drink a martini every time I go out to dinner. So I can't say, it's just complicated. It's complicated.
It
But from what I've
is.
seen, it's very much, it hasn't been a one off. Let me say that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So I'd like to shift to your friendship with Brittany, because you mentioned that you guys are super
Yes.
close,
Oh my God.
but she's been going through a lot, obviously. How do you think
So
that she's
much.
been handling that?
Listen, it's hard. It is really hard for her. And she, you know, sh- she's tough. She comes from a long line of tough southern
Hmm.
people who just like have to push through and will fight for her baby, you know what I mean? And I think it's complicated because she's, it's this person that she's loved, that she shares a child with, and then you throw in the insane stuff he's done and just all of his behavior. And when you see her, it's just like, wow. Like, I mean, it's amazing. It's just crazy to see how she is able to balance still being like a present and good mother, still being able to work and support, by doing ads and the podcast touring and things that have to keep, because I mean, she has got to pay for a lot, as now we
Yeah.
all are aware. I don't have to keep it a secret anymore. Everyone knows she's paying for so fucking much. So that part's stressful. Luckily, she's got a lot of support. And I
That's
think
amazing.
that is our, right now it's all about wrapping her around and lifting her up and just like
Hmm.
keeping kind of like a force field of protection and love. And that'll be it. Like, even if it's like I hang out with Janet pretty much like every day. I'll be hanging out there, and so we'll pop over there because they live so close together. So then we'll just go do the same thing over at Brittany's and
Hmm.
lay around. We were over at Sheena's the other day, and it was just like a chill for Father's Day, and she brought Cruz over, and me and her were just sitting by the swings again, the swings, and
Yeah.
we're always by swing sets. Me and her were just sitting in the swings, just catching up, and she's just like, it's been rough, but like, yeah, a lot of love and a lot of support, and she's strong, and I'm always going to stand by her in the, like, she's just, I feel like the theme is nobody's perfect, and I hate that people even kind of like compare her and Jax in any capacity whatsoever. And I just think she is doing everything she can in her power to make a life worth living for her and Cruz,
Yeah.
and and make peace with having to figure out how to co-parent or whatever is going to happen with him. So
Have you seen any changes in him since he's come out of rehab or since he's become
it's
sober?
it's so hard to say because I
Oh,
have
you have?
seen certain parts, and the few times that I've seen him with Cruz and Brittany, like during briefer moments. I'm not like hanging out with the dude, like that's
Right.
not not my thing really. But then it's one of those things, because then that will happen, and then we'll talk to Brittany a few days later and be like, oh, he's super pissed about this, or he's refusing to XYZ. So it's like you see a shift in certain aspects, But then it's like he's also so known to be such a fucking liar about stuff that you just don't
Right.
know.
Well, his sister said something interesting on his podcast. She was a guest recently, and she said, I feel like you need to have someone following you around all the time, like a life coach, somebody that is literally with you at all times that helps you make all of your decisions. And he goes, who has someone like that? And she's like, well, no one, right? But I think that you need someone like that. And I'm curious what you think about that because I don't know. There's been moments where I'm curious your thoughts if you ever worry about Brittany's physical safety.
um, I did. I have, and I did. Um, I I want to say now that I'm not worried, and I think it seems to be in a better place. But I do think I don't know how to say it. I think he's got a lot of work to go before he can be trusted in general. So,
Hmm.
and Jenny, his sister, she always calls him out and kind of calls it like she sees it. I remember like a while ago, one time something happened, and she was on the phone with Brittany, just saying, "Divorce his ass." And I'm like, "Your own sister, iconic," like. And this was like years ago, like it was
I'm glad
something
she had that
silly, but
support because we haven't seen that in years, right? Because we just haven't been watching them for the
yeah.
period of time. So I was like, oh, it's nice to see that Jenny is still a support
Oh,
system
Jenny's
to
still,
her.
yeah.
So thank God.
Jenny is iconic, and so
Yeah,
I didn't know
iconic.
this part because, yeah, I don't listen to his podcast for
I
I don't
have to
need
for
to be in,
work.
yeah, I don't need to be inside his mind, but I thank you for your service. But I'm glad that she called that out because, I mean, listen, put him in a conservatorship for a year. If they did it to
Oh
Britney
my
Spears, they can do it to
God.
Jax.
It's not a bad idea. It's actually
Actually,
not. Oh my God. That's the one time where I'd say it's like,
I
it
always
might
say
be to
somehow.
everyone's benefit. Can we petition for this?
Listen, I may be part of the reason why California has strict conservatorship laws now due to the Free Britney work. So it might be difficult, but
Well, I did want to
if
ask you
anyone
about this.
qualifies, if anyone qualifies, we could put him in one for a temporary, maybe a little temporary hold.
I have a few more questions about the Valley, and then I do want to ask about your Britney Spears movement association because I definitely want to dive into that if we have time. But what is your relationship with Zach? Because there was this implication that he said something horrible about you, and I'm curious if you
Yeah.
have a bad relationship with him, and I'm also curious if you can tell us what it is that he said. This is a
He said
swearing
kill
podcast, by the way.
myself. He
He
said kill
did?
myself again. Or like he said that I need to kill myself. I don't know why that is his
And you're a
go-to
person who had
insult.
cancer.
I, yes, I am. I am. It's a weird insult. It's a weird drunken insult place to go to. Um I was surprised to see that in the episode because I am not a cast member. I didn't
Hmm.
speak about it. I was surprised to see that it was part of it. I don't know if it was. I don't know the reason or the logic behind it. I wasn't asked about it by production.
You don't know why he said it?
No, I know why he said it. I don't know
Oh,
why it
okay.
was like. I don't know why you know about it or why
Okay.
why it's on Bravo.
Hmm.
He was Sheena. Him and Sheena were trying to work something out because he had issues with Sheena. Zach has a lot of issues with people, and they come and go, and sometimes they stay. And the issues stay and it doesn't resolve and sometimes they work out. He's hot-headed. He thinks, fast and emotional. And when he gets drunk, he gets wasted and he says things that I think he really regrets
Hmm.
or maybe doesn't. I don't know. But his go-to when he gets there is so dark. Talk about dark-sided. It's like, I don't know why your first mindset is to be like, that person should die. Instead of just like, fuck you or whatever. You know what I mean? So, and that's why it's like, okay, yeah, I get that it's hyperbole when you're saying like, you don't literally want me to go kill myself, but still, it's just a bizarre thing. And he was fighting with Sheena about something. They were trying to work it out, and she was just like saying something, and she brought me up just as a reference. She was just like listing off people. She's like, I don't have this issue with blah blah Jared. And then as soon as she said my name, he said he needs to go kill him, And I didn't hear it even. But Sheena immediately, after all the stuff with season one and, his comments off camera to Janet when she was pregnant, Sheena was like, fuck no, we're not doing this. And she walked away. And this was after the shark party. And, but we were still all hanging out, just cameras had gone down. And so then she comes barreling by and she's like, let's get the fuck out of here, Jared and Janet. Like, this is crazy. Like, I cannot believe that this guy is still going. Here's the thing. I've known Zach since I've known doing Brittany's makeup, since I've met her. Like, he would be around hanging out with her. I think he moved pretty much after moved from
Right.
Kentucky once she got on the show. So he's always been around. I think that Zach has a little bit of the symptom of like, we're millennials and we grew up kind of like being gay is really hard, especially in the South. And I think there's maybe like there's only room for one gay kind of vibe. And so I think it's a little bit based in insecurity, maybe some sort of like warped jealousy. Not like, oh, he's so jealous of who I am, but like, for a long time I was working with his best friend as a makeup artist, and I got to do fabulous things traveling as my job.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it might have gotten a little misconstrued and a little like, why does he get to go to New York? Why? And I think that might have been like the foundation of a little bit of some maybe bad blood with it.
Okay.
And I think but we've never had like a falling out. We've never, and again, all of the issues that I've had with him have stemmed from Janet and his disdain for Janet.
Right.
Which, they have their own set of issues separate from Kristen. And I don't want to have bad blood with just with another gay guy. And, I'm pushing 40. I don't want to have this bad blood. I'm trying to find a boyfriend. The best way to find a boyfriend is to connect with gay guys who have other gay friends. So I would love to reconnect with him and kind of put this past, and also investigate why he thinks he needs to say, like, why his insult has to be kill yourself. I think he needs a new insult. I really, really do.
I'll be meeting him on Tuesday and I'll ask him. He'll be in Toronto. So I bought a ticket to go meet him. He's doing a watch party. He does a lot of watch parties. So
does he?
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, the thing is Zach can be such a monster in certain scenarios. You know what I mean? Like, give him too many drinks and give him like the wrong like thing. But fair enough. Like, we all can. He just takes it so far. But the thing is, the guy's not, like, he's not overall a bad guy, and he's not, you know what I mean? Like, I want to be like somewhere where we could be like, again, friends, where he could be like, hey, I know this dude that I would love to set you up with. Like, that's where I want to get with him. I think.
You think he's just like over the top and disrespectful?
Listen, his former boss, Nicole Scherzinger from the Pussycat Dolls, said it kind of best. She said, since I've known him, he has wanted to be on TV, in reality TV. And I think that statement just kind of explains it all. And I think sometimes, especially in the beginning, I think he maybe got caught up a little bit in being on TV. And it's so interesting because that same thing is said about Janet. It's like Janet was caught up on being, and it's like, yeah, but you see, like,
he also followed Brittany, who was on TV, right? Like, why are we forgetting this?
I don't know.
For the same period of time.
We have selective outrage. We listen, you can do every keyword. The selective outrage, the false equivalency, because Jax is so bad. It's like Jesse can't be as bad. Danny's nothing. Danny's innocent because Jax is so. It's like, what are these people doing? But no, Zach. Yeah, I mean, Zach did the same. But, and again, there's no shame in that. Moving out with your best friend because she's on TV and you want to be on TV. There's no shame in that. And I think, I think overall Zach is a nice person. I think he can get mean and crazy when he drinks too much. And I think he can get caught up in the drama and the theatrics. And so can I. I mean, it's part of just being a theater kid. And I think he was in that world too. Like, we're very similar too, which sometimes similar, can kind of butt heads. Right. But I do think, overall, like, when you meet him, you're going to have the best time. And like, he is, be like, I just had Jared on this podcast. He says, hey.
Well, do you think that he's right when he says that like Brittany favors you and Janet over him and Kristen in terms of like taking sides? No,
Brittany, it's almost annoying how neutral she can be, like how Switzerland she can be. If anything, the thing about it is our focus needs to be, and is for Janet and I, is just supporting Brittany because it's the hardest time. So
that's
even so there's
not really the time for this. That's what I was saying on my podcast. I was like, of all times in the world to question your friendship, it's like not right now because she's going through so much. So if she's spending less time with you, it's probably because she has this monster who's texting her every 5 seconds. She also has a child that she's taking care of by herself. Yeah. So your friendship and spending time with you isn't really a priority right now.
And
right?
It's like,
sorry to interrupt you. I just wanted to get that
out. You're speaking so much truth. And it's also like the way we hang out. Like, like I said, Janet lives, we could technically walk as if we would ever walk, but you could technically walk to her place. Yeah, not in Los Angeles. But so we go over there with her baby and she's got Cruz, and we sit there and we just kind of talk in the daytime, and then we go home because it's bedtime, for the baby or time for dinner. So I think it's just a different type of friendship. And this has been an issue too, I think, with Zach a little bit, has been with us, is like, I've moved to the Valley and I do live a quieter life. Like, I do love a 5 o'clock dinner with the girls. Like, I like the schedule.
I eat dinner at 5. That is so funny.
Oh my God, we always do. We get at Craig's 5 or 5:30. We're
it.
over in WeHo by then. We're home by like 9 o'clock or
And you never
earlier,
have to make a reservation, probably, right? Because it's 5 o'clock.
I mean, we still do,
Okay,
just because we don't want to have to, like, it can get crazy. But yeah, it's at 5 o'clock dinner is the thing. And I think some of that is like his expectations for how him and Brittany hang out is like going out, which, listen, she needs it. And the thing is when they go do that, when they're, I think at that point in life, he was more of that friend for her. Like, okay, we need to go let her hair down, go to the gay bars, dance it out, see some, dang-a-lang swinging around, like all of that stuff. I think that's where he fit in. So then I think when it became, she needed more people just to kind of sit with her at her house, it makes sense that it's Janet and me and the baby and, like when we're just chilling. And I think
different friends for different vibes.
Yeah, I just think it's like one of those things, and it just doesn't affect. I mean, I feel bad that he would think that she is doing that, but we don't think that. There'll be plenty of times where like, where's Brittany been? And then we'll be like, oh, she spent like the weekend with Kristen doing like her baby shower and doing this and that. So we don't see the same thing me and Janet do not see what Zach and Kristen are saying. Like I don't see it. I feel like she is just as supportive. I feel like maybe the difference is we just don't talk about Zach and Kristen when we're with Brittany. Like I could not imagine bringing it up like the way Zach did on that one episode where he's like, well, you don't like I would be so mortified. I'd be like, how selfish do I sound right now?
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh my God. I'm saying, but it's all good. Like, I'm trying to move forward and be like, let's put the bad blood behind us.
Right.
It was a crazy last year and it's been crazy, the show airing, but
it has.
I'm not a cast member and these people have been my friends for a while. So I hope for more positivity moving forward.
Oh, I love that. I think we all do as a fandom. I think we are hoping, and those moments of levity are great, right, when they do happen. So I do so much appreciate you being here. You've been here for a while, and I know you have so many places to go. I've got to walk my dog, but I have to hear, before I let you go, a little bit about your history with Britney Spears and your involvement in the Free Britney movement. If you could do it in sort of like a summation, because, from my understanding, you were sort of at the forefront of that movement, so I would love to know a bit about it.
Yeah, I mean, real quickly, Britney Spears was in a conservatorship. It turned out to be a corrupt conservatorship for almost 15 years. Around 2019, 2020, I'm a diehard Britney Spears fan.
Yes.
We started to notice some inconsistencies with her social media posts, with her public appearances.
What do you mean we?
The fandom,
Okay.
the Britney Spears fandom.
Okay.
And it had been talked about for a while since 2016, her conservatorship. I was very interested in it and very, just very fascinated by it because I have had some experiences with makeup artists who'd worked with her and just some weird stories about how she was controlled and just, like there was all these rules. So cut to 2021 or so, I'm like recovering and we have this movement during the pandemic, pre-pandemic and then post-pandemic of supporting her down here at the LA courthouses for her hearings. Mm-hmm. And I was proud to be one of the leaders. We had like a lawyer. We had someone who was like really good in the court system to like kind of tap in and find all the court, feeds, hearings. I would go into the courtroom as one of the representatives for it. We became like an actual organization, the Free Britney movement. And the goal being obviously to highlight the injustices for Britney Spears specifically. And we did. And the goal was to have, her conservatorship end by the time she was 40, which it did just a month shy of her 40th birthday, which was amazing. It is obviously once again, complex situation, just like everything we've talked about today. She is clearly, people have varying opinions on her well-being. And again, just like alcoholism, I don't think it's fair or right to diagnose someone's mental health or possible mental health issues based on social media posts or not knowing them personally. But that aside, and how people feel about her aside, she is a human being who has the right to autonomy. And if there are plenty of people like Kanye West with autonomy out there, not in a conservatorship, I think it only makes sense that someone like Britney Spears should not be locked away. So we were very proud to free her, despite some of the backlash now because of how, what some say is her erratic behavior. And because of our hard work, conservatorship issues have been a huge problem in Nevada and in California specifically, because there's so much money and there's so many old people who can be taken advantage of.
Right.
And it is a form of elder abuse oftentimes, where people get tricked into being in these conservatorships by third parties and they don't get to see their family and their money is siphoned off and they live this weird, sad life, kind of like what happened to Britney Spears.
Right.
So the end result of all of this was we've actually got a bill signed into law. Gavin Newsom, our governor, signed in a law. I can't remember the number, but it's got like a fancy number, like 2468, like that. So where now people, you can't just get signed into a conservatorship the way Britney Spears was without a due process, which she was not given her 5 days notice, and she was still put in it and wasn't able to argue it, wasn't able to be given counsel. And so now that those issues are no longer a threat to others. And being a part of something like that, I'm a part of, obviously, the cancer community and advocating for stuff that I'm so passionate about in the medical field. But this was a side project, a one-off. I kind of let Britney do her thing. I quote unquote leave Britney alone now, but it was really powerful being a leader in the movement and popping up in some of the documentaries, and it was amazing. And I love her to bits. So I've loved her. She helped raise me and find my queer identity. So it's like amazing to be able to be like, okay. And even if she is quote unquote crazy, she's living her life to the fullest, spending her money that she earned without it being siphoned off to her weird ass dad and her creepy religious managers. And she can fuck whoever she wants and live her life.
I love it. Jared, thank you so much for being here today. It means so much to me. This was an amazing episode. Before you go, please plug all the things that you have, your podcast, Instagram, Cameo, whatever you have, please go for it.
Oh my God. Yeah. I'm on Instagram and TikTok at Jared Lips, and I have a Cameo, Jared Lips. All my dope fundraising for my Cameo goes to the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. Mm-hmm. And I have the podcast that I co-host with Janet and Jason Caperna from the Valley. It's called This Side of the Hill, obviously available anywhere you listen to podcasts. It is our 3 varying opinions from a straight robotic lawyer, a crazy reality villain, and your local gay. And we just are chit-chatting about bullshit. So we'd love to have you listen.
It's actually really good, and I actually love your cooking videos online. A lot of people are saying that they're obsessed with them.
We filmed 2 more, so we have some good ones coming out. And I learned how to cook chili, so I cannot wait to show that video.
I'm excited. I love chili. I love a good chili because it's an easy thing to make. When I'm really
Janet
lazy, so chili's a good one.
She said we're going to start off easy for your own recipe. So
okay, thank you so much, Jared.
I love this, Dana. Thank you so much for having me.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Bravo Investigator podcast in partnership with Hurrdat Media. You can watch full-length videos on Hurrdat Entertainment's YouTube channel. Follow me on Instagram and TikTok at the Bravo Investigator. If you enjoy the show, please leave me a 5-star review. Love you, BBs. See you next time.
A Hurrdat Media Production.